The future of Atlanta real estate in 2026 might actually surprise you, because this is not a boom market and it's not a crash either. If you've been watching the North Atlanta housing market over the last few years, you know it's been a wild ride. But here's the big headline for 2026. This market is finally shifting into what I call the great normalization. After years of extreme competition, rapid price jumps, and emotional decision making, North Atlanta real estate is settling into something healthier and more predictable. And for buyers, that shift changes everything. Because in 2026, strategy finally beats speed. Hey everyone, I'm Weslyn Bazilla. I'm your North Atlanta relocation guide and your local real estate expert here on Life in North Atlanta. I hope families get a real, honest look at what it's like to live, move, and buy a home here in the North Atlanta suburbs. And if you're thinking about relocating here, whether you're moving from inside the perimeter or you're coming from out of state, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss any of my weekly videos. Okay, so in today's video, I'm breaking down what the real data is telling us about the North Atlanta housing market in 2026 and how buyers can actually use this environment to their advantage. We'll talk about the interest rates, inventory, and negotiation power, and the hyper-local North Atlanta areas that you should be paying closest attention to. Number one is going to be the rate, reality, and affordability. Let's start with the factor that shaped almost every buyer's decision in 2025, interest rates. Throughout the last year, the average 30-year fixed mortgage rate hovered in that mid 6% range, sometimes moving higher. That alone was enough to slow the demand and keep a lot of buyers on the sidelines across North Atlanta. Looking to head into 2026, most major housing economists, including groups like Realtor.com and Redfin, are forecasting rates to stabilize, likely landing somewhere in that low to mid 6% range. This isn't a dramatic drop, but it is an important one. Stability does matter. Nationally, organizations like the National Association of Realtors expect that stability to support a rebound in home sales activity. And while North Atlanta won't move as one single market, well-priced and move-in ready homes here are likely to see renewed buyer interest. Here's the mindset shift that buyers need to make in 2026. You've probably heard the phrase, marry the house, date the rate, and right now the idea matters more than ever. Buyers who wanted that rate to return to 4% have already missed opportunities to negotiate their pricing, their repairs, the concessions. Instead of focusing only on the rate, smart buyers are focusing on securing the right home with a long-term plan to refinance if and when the rates do improve. This rate environment also creates another opportunity that didn't exist during the frenzy years: seller-paid incentives. Builders and motivated resale sellers are increasingly offering closing cost credits up to $10,000, temporary rate buy downs, and other financing incentives. This is where strong representation and smart negotiation can have a real impact on your monthly payment. I was able to negotiate recently with my clients in November of 2025, $40,000 off of list price, in addition to concessions as well. Pillar number two we're going to discuss now is inventory, negotiation, and buyer leverage. This is where 2026 gets especially interesting for buyers. Inventory across all of Metro Atlanta increased significantly through 2025. You probably drove by multiple homes with signs in the yard, pushing the market closer to what we'd consider a balanced environment. By late last year, we were seeing roughly a 4 to 4.5 month supply of homes. That is a huge shift from the extreme shortages where we had less than a month's supply in the pandemic years. A truly balanced market is closer to that 6-month mark, but this change alone has already reshaped the buyer behavior. For the first time in years, buyers can actually be selective again, take their time. Market-wide data shows homes selling slightly below list price on average, with many sellers now open to real negotiation, especially when homes weren't perfectly priced from the very beginning. That doesn't mean every home is a deal, particularly in high-demand school districts, like we've talked about in Roswell, East Cobb, Alpharetta. But it does mean the days of panic buying, waived contingencies, and massive overbids are largely behind us. The biggest opportunity for buyers in 2026 comes down to seller motivation. Homes that have been sitting on the market for 90, 120, or even 150 days are often priced based on the 2022 expectations, not today's reality. And those sellers are typically much more open to negotiating on their price, the repairs, or closing costs. If you're buying this year, days on market is one of the most important data points to watch. Number 3 is going to be hyper-local North Atlanta hot zones. Here's something every buyer needs to understand clearly. North Atlanta is not one market. It is a collection of micro markets, and strategy changes depending on where you're buying. In luxury and lifestyle-driven areas, such as Alpharetta, Johns Creek, parts of Sandy Springs, demand remains really strong, especially for updated, turnkey, single-family homes. These areas continue to benefit from the job growth there, school reputation, and lifestyle appeal. Homes are not selling overnight like they did in 2021, but well-positioned properties are still moving faster here than in many other parts of the metro Atlanta area. In contrast, value and opportunity zones like Cumming and parts of North Gwinnett, for example, including Swanee and Buford, are offering some of the strongest leverage for buyers in 2026. Higher inventory levels, particularly with new construction, mean more flexibility, better builder incentives, and stronger negotiation power for buyers trying to maximize space and value. And then there's Roswell, which sits in a very stable middle ground. Roswell continues to see consistent demand thanks to its charm, all of its established neighborhoods and school options. It's less volatile than the faster growing areas, is likely to see steady, modest appreciation rather than dramatic swings. Even in the most competitive North Atlanta neighborhoods, longer days on market compared to the pandemic years mean that buyers can slow down, complete their inspections, make decisions based on logic and not panic. So what's the real takeaway for buyers heading into 2026? There's rarely a perfect time to buy a home, guys. There's just the time that makes sense for your life, your finances, and your long-term plans. Rates are not going to be perfect. Inventory will continue to shift, and the market will always have headlines trying to push urgency in one direction or another. But informed buyers who understand leverage, focus on the right location, and they take a long-term view are going to be the ones who do the best, even in uncertain markets. If you're considering a move to North Atlanta and you want a data-backed perspective on whether buying makes sense for you, I'm always happy to help. No pressure, just information and strategy. You can find a link in the description if you'd like to connect one-on-one. And if you found this helpful, please make sure to like this video and subscribe for more North Atlanta market insights. And drop a comment below to let me know which neighborhood or suburb that you're watching the most in 2026. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.